Ice Age was released in 2002, 3 years before Little Ol' Me popped out. By the end of its run, it grossed just about $560 million off of a $59 million budget. This spawned a 14-year-old billion-dollar franchise that is still being milked by Disney. What I'm trying to get at is Ice Age is a massive franchise that you have almost certainly heard of, but for any of those who have seen any of its subsequent films, you'll know they managed to get worse and worse and worse. This one is pretty alright. But if you set aside the 4 awful sequels, you get this glorious gem that was overshadowed by its successors. First thing that Ice Age does right is introduce its characters. The first we meet is Manny. He's a grumpy mammoth that has no herd, which is unusual for mammoths. He's going against the migration as if he has nowhere to be, that or he just doesn't care where he ends up. We then cut to Sid, someone you'll notice appears a lot in the trailer I used in the background, but it's for a good reason. He's hilarious. Sid is this stinky, oddly shaped sloth that is fairly inconsiderate to all those around him. He meets Manny right after ruining the rhino couple's salad. It's here we get an extremely well done shot of some flying rhinos and an understanding of Manny and Sid's dynamic. Sid has a family that hates him, and Manny has something emotional he's not talking about. Either way, we now understand that both are alone in their own right, and Sid is just tagging along with Manny. We then get some brief dialogue and the tiger attack scene that introduces the humans and the Sabertooths. Diego is an oddball that doesn't really fit in with this pack and has to catch a baby lest he get eaten or at least cast out. As far as the humans go, we don't know a whole lot. We see they care for their kid and that they killed off half the tiger pack, but other than that, they remain a mystery. According to the DVD director's commentary, they wanted the humans to remain mysterious, bring some sense of normal to this magical land of talking animals. In a way, the roles are reversed. Both humans and animals are scared of one another for different reasons, but the humans are nonverbal and appear differently than the majority of animals. They have similar traits like migrating in herds, but Manny, Sid, and Diego just see the baby as a pet, so to speak. After we meet all our characters, they are brought together by this baby and their emotional need to return it. To me, the journey is what is so important to the Ice Age films. In the first one, each of the main characters knows what it's like to be alone, so they go on this road trip to bring the baby back. Because no matter what the humans have done to these animals, they all know what it's like to be alone and not have a family, and they don't want that for this human baby. But in every other film following the first, the story feels less personal and they get more and more outlandish each time. The first Ice Age is a children's comedy driven by characters and emotions. The subsequent films are cheap adult jokes abruptly interrupted by scratch short films, which we'll touch on in a little bit. Ice Age works because at the root it has characters that you care about and you want to see grow closer and stronger by the end of it. Characters like the twins serve no real purpose aside from being a laugh track every scene they're in, but characters like Manny are the emotional ground in which the world is built on. Diego and Sid really only have a narrative purpose in the first film. Manny's story is horrifying to say the least, but it's told in a way to make it suitable for children. Now, the death of a mother and a child is never an easy topic. I still get a little uneasy every time the cave painting scene plays, but the humor takes a backseat, the dialogue completely diminishes out, and you'll feel the pain and trauma Manny has been carrying around as the music swells. You feel this emotional weight lift from his back when the child hugs his trunk. You see the beginning of tears well up in his eyes as he feels this immense love for a kid that's not even his, but him and his herd have adopted. After Diego leaves the cave, you really see his change of heart. He starts out bringing the herd to his pack as a way to make it up to them for losing the baby, and ends up caring about these animals. He's seen what they've gone through and experienced some of the trials, and he can't bring himself to lead them to their death anymore. He's witnessed this kid grow from crying all the time to walking, and he reveals his true intentions after Manny selflessly saves him. Even Sid, the comedic sidekick, has a change of heart. He goes from this playboy that thinks he deserves everything from others. He follows Manny around for protection even though Manny doesn't want him around. He lies to the female sloths in the hot tub saying he's a family man, using the kid as an example of his parenting skills. And when the kid is taken from him, he desperately begs Manny to give him back, only to find the girls are now gone. By the end of the film, he cares for his herd no matter how weird they may be. He drops this selfish act. That's what I adore so much about Ice Age. It's willing to have meaningful characters that grow in natural ways. It takes time to slow down and give a crap about the journey that these silly talking animals are taking. The films that follow it, not so much. The only journeys the herd ventures on is the physical one. There's nearly no emotional depth at all. The filmmakers take every second they can to make a random sex joke that isn't even clever in hiding itself.
I thought you were a female!
and the main story is constantly interrupted by a Scrat side quest that bloats the runtime. Which brings me to my next point. The filmmakers realized that the audience would be paying $10 for a movie called Ice Age, only to not see any snow for the first 30 minutes, so they decided to make the Scrat opener that you see in the theatrical release. However, test audiences loved it so much that they decided to put more Scrat scenes in the film. The end result is a few Scrat moments sprinkled throughout the film's runtime. The pattern is the Scrat moments come right after emotional scenes such as the hail scene at the beginning and the fire scene at the end, but these comedic moments don't impede the emotionally charged moments the way they do in the sequels. Instead, they keep the lighthearted tone running throughout the runtime. In fact, they even opted not to have the Scrat scenes right after the cave painting scene as well as the ice bridge scene when Diego gets saved. This contrasts with the sequels having 60% Scrat and 40% Herd. And the Scrat scenes always feel ill-timed, like, ooh, such a sweet scene with the Herd and I rest my case. Scrat was funny until it was overused, similarly to another franchise being milked by its studio. But Scrat wasn't the only thing that was funny. Sid, Manny, and Diego all had some funny moments. Their adventures lead to some hilarious moments like, "Where's the baby?" which turns into a running gag that in turn becomes a heartfelt goodbye. They canonically killed off the entire dodo species over a melon, which ended up in the dirt. The recurring gay rhinos hilariously lead to shenanigans like Sid smelling like he died, as well as Sid accidentally calling Manny's sinkhole bluff. Other jokes like Stonehenge being modern architecture and Sid wanting global warming instead of an ice age are all just perfectly timed and delivered, and they aged like fine wine. On par with the jokes and quips is the physical comedy. It's something that live action can't do to the same level that animation can. The reasoning is animation can have silly physics, body shapes, and other outlandish things that just don't happen in real life. Sid falling off a cliff and getting stuck with his head, Sid's wedge head getting stuck in Diego's teeth, and Manny's nose hair being yanked out by the kid are all perfect examples of nearly impossible feats being made funny through animation. In my opinion, the comedy falls a little flat after the first one. For example, the pregnancy jokes in the third especially don't feel clever or in some cases don't work at all.
Just one more big push! You have no idea what I'm going through.
The reason this doesn't work is because, well, actually, Diego, Ellie does know what you're going through because she can see the dinosaurs you're pushing, so the joke falls a little flat. It's said that this movie doesn't get the credit it deserves simply because it's overshadowed by its terrible sequels and spin-offs. Other films like Megamind, Rango, and Monsters University get the luxury of being called underrated. It's totally valid to like those films because they're great. You say, oh, I love Megamind, and everyone agrees. But I hope this video sheds a light on the truly most underrated animated film of all time, Ice Age. This video was a blast to put together, and I'm thankful for all those that stayed till the end. Next video is going to be on Quiet Place Part 1 and 2, so subscribe so you don't miss out on that. I was gonna say goodbye like usual, but I think I'll just hand the mic to Sid.
Goodbye! Goodbye!
Sid.
Bye! Whoa! Woo! Yeah! Who's up for round 2?